Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, well, here we go. This is it. It's what we've all been waiting for. This is the pre-SuperBowl podcast. Super Bowl's this weekend, Sunday to be exact. It's kind of more like Monday for us, but technically Sunday. And me and my glamorous co-host, Paul Williams, are here to get into it. Go the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the stats, the predictions, and let's face it, the real question, what's on the menu? Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And yeah, I know this is probably, the back end of the season at this point. Well, it is the back end of the season at this point. But please do share the podcast around. It helps us out and, brings more podcasts in the future. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out.
Well, after 24 weeks, dare I say, it's one of those several hundred games, large amounts of predictions and stats. We come to what is the penultimate record and penultimate podcast of the National Football League season. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on in to Laces Out, the CookieCast's NFL podcast. We are on the cusp of Super Bowl licks, or 59 if you're not reading Roman numerals. Yes, it's we're very much into the home stretch. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you will be seeing just mine and Mr. Cook's faces. Sadly, there is no guest in person for this week's show. However, we did have a guest last week who made his Super Bowl predictions live on the show. We will go back through those, and we also have some guest predictions from an unnamed source who will be mentioned at a later date. So, first things first, Mr. Cook, I know you struggle with this particular time of the year as the sport we enjoy so much is cruelly ripped from our grasp for another 7 months.
Yeah. I mean, what we're seven seasons in to doing this podcast. You could rinse and repeat this episode of this podcast because it's the same every time. I'm usually genuinely happy that we've got the Super Bowl to look forward to. However, it does mark that this is the second to last episode of the season. It's almost all over by the showering kind of situation. And I always get that sort of a little bit sad. Got to put the toys back in the box and put the box away for 7 months. So, yes, it's a large amount of mixed feelings, which can only be overcome by increasing the delights of the Super Bowl. Obviously, you've got to know there's been a lot of debate in the Cook household around the menu. There's how much, I suppose it's what's your betting limit for Sunday's game. You know, is it time to go out and buy a new piece of merchandise? All of those things add to the flavour of what some would say not the Super Bowl we were wanting. But anyway, moving on swiftly from that one. How many? I'd be interested if someone could go back through the last 7 seasons and just check how many times I've said that phrase. Seems to be a little too common at this part of the season. But hey, let's not dwell on what could have been.
Well, very much so. I mean, I'm looking at it in the book that I have in front of me. Start NFL off-season moves 2021.
Wow.
So that was obviously the season that it was the Rams versus the Bengals, I think, in the Super Bowl. Let's have a look. Week 18. It was indeed the Bengals versus the Rams Super Bowl. And at the start of the season, only one person had predicted the Rams to make it to the dance, and that was Matt Moore. He went with the Rams Chiefs Super Bowl in 2021. Interesting that but I mean, this is all completely pointless, as it's got no bearing on the Super Bowl that's been played in 2025.
It hasn't. I think it's that thing, isn't it? That take the NFL however you want. This season has been very much me. I've been listening to a variety of different podcasts with a variety of different people for a variety of different walks of life, and this is the first year where I've heard people saying, "I'm done with the NFL. I'm walking away. I'm not renewing any TV packages, etc., etc." I've found myself more in that camp this year. I don't know whether I've mentioned this in the past. I think I have. I was a massive fan of the NBA many moons ago. Massive fan of the NBA. It was all consuming to me. I was either watching it, playing, or even playing like computer games. It was everything. And for whatever reason, I had to step away from that sport because it wasn't fun to watch anymore. It wasn't enjoyable for a variety of different reasons that I probably leave unsaid at this point. This year has felt very much like how I started feeling towards the back end of my time with the NBA. It surprises me when, people who have been fans of certain teams for 50 plus years go, I'm done, I'm out. Because, ultimately they are lifers at that point. So yeah, very mixed feelings. Coming back to my point, I'm trying to think back to the last point in time where I was like, oh, I'm really looking forward to this Super Bowl because it feels like the Super Bowl that we deserve after 16 or 17 or 18 weeks. We've had the ups, we've had the downs. Is this team going to make it? Yes or no? I remember being super excited for the Super Bowl 50, the Broncos Panthers, for two completely different reasons. I was less excited the day after when I was like, what actually happened there? And I honestly think that was maybe the first point in time where I was like, I feel there's maybe a little more going on here than we're maybe being told. It was the first time that I felt that like maybe there was additional factors as to who won things and who didn't. And honestly, been a little bit downhill since then. So was that 9 years? Anyway, let's try and pick this puppy up a little bit.
So it's at this point of the podcast that usually we go through the previous week's results, the previous week's picks,
That means we
etc.,
get to
etc.
talk at length about the.
No, absolutely no one needs that in their life. I would go so far as to say that of the Pro Bowl this year, I have seen roughly, and this is not even a joke, 8 seconds worth of footage.
I saw a clip of the Pro Bowl, which I'm not sure if either Matt shared it with our group or it might have even been me that shared it, but it was the response was somebody needs to put 2 behind the Pro Bowl's ear at this point in time. We categorically need to stop having it as a thing. The thing that annoys me nowadays is when an American football player's stats come up, it's like they've done this many yards in a season, they've done this and this and that, and 2-time Pro Bowl player, and you're like, I imagine there was a point in time where that meant something. Nowadays, I feel all Pro Bowls should be sponsored by Nickelodeon.
Well, something that I have heard before was that they need to stop looking at the Pro Bowl as like a measure of like the sort of the best players in the league. They're better off looking at the All Pro team selection.
So that I saw as a thing. Somebody's stats were like 2-time Pro Bowl and 2-time All Pro, and I was like, okay, cool. We've had this conversation about a bajillion times at this point in time. If they made it mean something, then, and part of me feels like they should maybe try and find a way to lead it into the Super Bowl. Like they're playing for something. Like I suggested they should play for who gets the ball in the second half, and that way the coin toss only decides the first half. You're going to get many people pointing out that that's super unfair. But maybe it would change it so that the Pro Bowl actually means something nowadays, rather than just, hey, here's a load of players that didn't go to the Super Bowl, and you're excited to see them do really badly at these really badly organized events. Yay!
It is a bit. It's a whole heap of nonsense. But yeah, we're not gonna discuss the Pro Bowl. So because we don't have any games to go through last week, I believe that what I'm looking at in front of me is some stats that have been corralled and pulled together for the lead up to the big game.
So I said to the stats mistress, hey, I think you may have already done me some stats for last week, possibly. I think there was stats. I seem to think there was stats. I was like, but can you do me 2 sets of things this week? One, can you see if there's any stats for like leading into the Super Bowl, stats around the Super Bowl, etc. I felt like that would be a thing that existed, and something that I'm going to hold on to for a moment, just a little bit of fun, keep it light. The stats mistress returned to us with 59 stats for Super Bowl 59. She then ran them through the stats machine, and provided us with what I believe is possibly 14 of the finest stats from the 59 that were offered. These are pre-Super Bowl NFL stats brought to the stats mistress by Cody Benjamin, CBS Sports, and they have been slimmed down from 59. The first one is this. This marks the 8th time a Super Bowl has been played in New Orleans Superdome, and the 11th time the game has been held in New Orleans. No other city besides Miami has hosted as many Super Bowls. Well done to New Orleans. I imagine it's going to be raucous. Number 2, Kansas City is making its 3rd straight Super Bowl appearance, becoming the first NFL team of the modern era to have a chance at a three-peat, having won its last 2 championship bids. 3rd stat, Super Bowl Licks, or 59 as it's known, is a rematch of Super Bowl 57, when the Chiefs played the Eagles to close the 2022 season in Glendale, Arizona. The Chiefs won that last Super Bowl meeting 38-35, overcoming a 10-point halftime deficit to beat the Eagles on a last-minute field goal by Harrison Butker. I mean, can't imagine we'll see anything similar to that this time around. Number 4, the Eagles had a historic effort from quarterback Jalen Hurts in that Super Bowl. Then, in just his 3rd NFL season, Hurts totaled 4 touchdowns, including a Super Bowl record 3 rushing scores, plus a successful 2-point conversion that knotted the game at 35-35 in the closing minutes. Number 5, the Chiefs entered the postseason as the AFC's number 1 seed, finishing with an NFL best 15-2 record and enjoying a first-round bye in the playoffs. The Eagles claimed the NFC's number 2 seed with a 14-3 record, then won 3 straight home playoff games to reach the Super Bowl. Number 6, the 2 teams share history at the head coaching position. Chiefs coach Andy Reid spent 14 seasons running the Eagles from 1999 to 2012. Current Eagles coach Nick Sirianni, meanwhile, began his NFL career as a Chiefs assistant, working for Kansas City from 2009 to 2012. And my last stat, the Chiefs' last Super Bowl win came at the end of the 2023 season when they edged the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in Super Bowl LV in the Las Vegas area. That is my final stat.
Which means I take over. Prior to their championship bout with the Chiefs in 2022, the Eagles also reached Super Bowl LII, or Lee, I believe she would go by, in 2017, famously upsetting Tom Brady and the Patriots to claim their first ever Lombardi trophy. Those Eagles were led by backup quarterback Nick Foles, who went on to win the Super Bowl MVP as an injury replacement for Carson Wentz. Patrick Mahomes hasn't ranked amongst the NFL's most dynamic passers in recent seasons, but he thrives in crunch time, leading the Chiefs to a record 17 straight one-score victories. Rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy is arguably the team's top big play weapon, thanks to his straight line speed. Tight end Travis Kelce, who finished his 12th season, remains Mahomes' favourite target in the passing game. He logged a career-low 8.5 yards per catch this year, but led the team with 97 receptions I imagine the Wookiee wide receiver core would look completely different. Yes, I get that because I know Star Wars.
You're a big Star Trek fan.
I love it. Can't beat Star Trek. Jalen Hurts has totaled just one turnover in his 7 playoff games since 2022. He's also undeniable as a short yardage runner with 64 career scores, including the playoffs. Running back Saquon Barkley has enjoyed one of the best seasons in one of the best seasons in NFL history, which also happens to be his first in Philadelphia. A prized free agent signing from the rival New York Giants last offseason, he eclipsed 2,000 rushing yards in the regular season and remains an MVP candidate. Wide receiver A.J. Brown is the Eagles' top downfield threat, averaging 16 yards per catch in tandem with Devonta Smith on the perimeter. He's hit 1,000 yards receiving in 5 of his 7 NFL seasons. Will the Chiefs go heavy on the blitz? Hurts hasn't always fared well when flushed out of the pocket and suffered an ugly 2023 playoff loss in the face of strong pressure. Steve Spagnuolo, meanwhile, has built a sturdy reputation when it comes to sending extra rushes at precisely the right time. Can Barkley run free again? All year, teams have tried and failed to contain the Eagles' new running back, and whilst the Chiefs boast a top 10 run defense, they'll also have to account for an elite group of pass weapons on the Eagles' end, including tackle-shedding tight end Dallas Goedert. The Chiefs have endured the absence of a slew of wideouts, including 2023 standout Rashee Rice, but are otherwise healthy at the skill spots. Right tackle Jawan Taylor, who sat out week 18 with a knee injury, is still recovering from that ailment going into the Chiefs' final week of practice before the big game. The Eagles are battling several bruises in the trenches, with both Dickerson and Jurgens, knee and back respectively, missing early practices after fighting through pain in the NFC Championship game. Devonta Smith is also nursing a hamstring injury for the Eagles and is expected to play. Surprise, surprise, Mahomes is the betting favourite to win the Super Bowl MVP, which would be his 4th such honour. Saquon Barkley is next in line on the odds makers list of favourites for the game. For the game's top individual award. And my final stat for this week: the Eagles are the designated home team for this game. This designation rotates between the AFC and NFC each year. As a result, they got first choice of their uniform for the game and elected to wear their signature midnight green jerseys, which they also wore against the Chiefs in Super Bowl LVII 57. With the Eagles wearing green, the Chiefs will wear their white away jerseys. Teams wearing white jerseys in the Super Bowl are 16-4 in the last 20 title games. The only 2 teams to win wearing home colours over the last decade are the Chiefs and the Eagles. So, interesting. So it's up to you, really. We can jump into our picks, or we can go through some of the sort of the early betting favourites. Or I know you've got something on the betting to go through later on, so we can leave that for now if you want.
I saw a video recently that was talking about betting, and this was back in the playoffs. We were talking about how we should turn the I'm trying to keep it neutral. We should turn the Chiefs' fortune into our fortune by betting heavily on the Chiefs. So that way, if they win, you win, and if they lose, you win. So it's a win-win situation. So I was like, you've probably got a point there. So I'm basically going to bet my house on the Chiefs. Just for fun. So yes, I have got some fun little bet stuff. I imagine you've probably pulled up the top odds and stuff like that. I mean, I imagine by this point time there's probably a bajillion boosts on a load of random, like if this happened to this, 250 to 1. Get 50 on quick. So it's entirely up to you. Where do you want to go?
Well, shall we? We'll go through the picks. So then we can sort of do the picks, and then we can leave all the sort of food chat and betting stuff as the sort of the fun thing to sort of close us out, because we kind of need to do a side bet as well to make it interesting going into week 22. Seems though we are separated by 1 point.
Oh God!
So I'll reiterate what Tony made as his choices in his guest pick from last week. So he went with the Chiefs to win the game 34-10. He wasn't entirely sure on the players, so he's just gone for the Chiefs to score both the first and last touchdown. He's gone for Travis Kelce to be the game's MVP. Interesting. And the creme de la creme choice, obviously, is the winning Gatorade shower colour. And he's gone with purple as his selection. Now, I mentioned earlier on that there was another guest who had placed some picks in my hands. And that is no other than podcast favourite, Stuart Woodmansey, who has made the following selections as his choice. He has gone for the Chiefs to win the game, 24-13, so he thinks it's going to be a low scoring affair. He's gone for Kareem Hunt to snap the first touchdown, AJ Brown to score the last touchdown, surprise, surprise, Mahomes to be the game's MVP, and his Gatorade shower colour was red. But now I remembered that on the Sky betting odds, red wasn't just on its own. So he has been given red / pink as the betting, or as the colour that would be settled on from a betting perspective. My picks are already in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pick by pick, get Andy's, and then give mine alongside Andy's. So, do I even need to ask at this point which team you have winning the game?
No, there is absolutely no scenario where I don't see the Chiefs winning.
Okay, that's interesting because I've gone with the Eagles.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. I was like, he's going to go for Points Island.
Honestly, I don't. At this point, I don't even think it's Points Island. I think Barkley's playing that well, and he's had 2 weeks worth of rest. That if he can run like he's run for the other the other 3 games he's had in the playoffs so far, I think the Chiefs will struggle to contain him. And then obviously,
I
all
agree.
that hurt him to do is gain sort of 10, 15 yards here or there. And in theory, the Eagles could score on every possession. So I think it could be a high scoring game. So I've gone for 42-37 as my score. Because I'm pretty sure that the last 2 times I've seen the Eagles in the Super Bowl, it's been fairly high scoring games. Let me just double check what it was the last time these two played. Talk amongst yourselves.
So, I think it was mentioned in one of your stats that talked about the element of Saquon Barkley and how no team has yet been able to shut him down. To me, the most sense has always been, right, see that guy there? He's going to get the ball. He's going to run that ball. Stop him at all costs. If you shut him down, that is where the Eagles struggle. If you reduce him to 2 yards rather than 46 and rinse and repeat 4 times, that's the end of that. So from a defensive perspective, the entire thing should be that guy there doesn't make it more than 2 yards. In fact, make him go backwards 2 yards. If that's your directive, if that's your thing, that is, I would say, almost 50% closer to a victory than, oh, did he run for 86 yards? Cool. That was another touchdown, was it?
So, Super Bowl 52, Eagles against Patriots, was 41-33 in favour of the Eagles, so high scoring. Super Bowl. The previous Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl finished 38-35. So high scoring Super Bowls containing at least the Eagles seem to be the thing. So that's why I've gone 42-37. What are you going for as the final score?
I so desperately want to say that not only is it going to be a repeat of pretty much everything, I want to put down a repeat score. There's a part of me that's like, I feel like people will be going absolutely mental for the fact it's happened, but at the same time, it's a bit silly. I'm going to go 40-38. And I don't think I can do the maths to work out if that's even possible, but hey.
I think all it takes is like a missed point after.
Yeah.
Like and a couple of 2-point conversions. I think you can pretty much get to like any score.
Yeah.
Give or take. Safety here or there, potentially as well. We'll do the first touchdown each, and then we might have to take a quick break.
Yeah.
So who have you gone for to score the first touchdown?
So I've gone with kind of a weird one in a way, but also I don't know if it's necessarily that weird. I've got Jalen Hurts for the first touchdown. I feel you're going to be giving a lot of work Saquon's way, but you're also trying to send a message, and that message is don't forget he's not the only player. So the best way to do that is say, oh, it's fine. Saquon's going to get 3, maybe 4 touchdowns in this game. You don't need to worry about that. But guess what? He's not the only problem. So great way to send that message is to have somebody other than him score the first. And I think Jalen's just run it in, 2-yarder, just run it in, job done.
Yeah, I almost went for Jalen Hurts myself, but I've gone with Saquon Barkley. I think it could be one of those ones where he snaps off another sort of like 50, 60-yard run. Now, the only thing that would go against me on that one is the fact that if he gets tackled at like the 5, they'll just push Hurts into the end zone, which is obviously what they've done several times this season. So that's the only thing that could potentially come and bite me in the ass. If they're anywhere within the 10, it's probably more likely that Jalen Hurts gets the touchdown. So we have got left the last touchdown scorer each, the game's MVP each, and the Gatorade shower colour pick, which is obviously that's the only thing that anyone ever tunes in for on the podcast. Let's be honest. So we'll take a small break. We'll go away. We'll compose ourselves. We'll each pick one of those 3, and then we'll get into some of the betting odds, some of the novelty specials, and we'll finish with menu talk. Don't go anywhere. We will be back. Welcome back. So, we had Winning team, game score, first touchdown scorer, done, dusted, in the book. Next, who do you think will score the last touchdown of the game?
I honestly do not see anybody else scoring the last touchdown other than Kelsey.
Travis Kelce, you say?
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, you've gone with Travis Kelce. I've gone with your first touchdown scorer. I'm going with Jalen Hurts. I think this could be another scenario where late in the game, driving, need a touchdown to go ahead, get himself within the 5. Maybe got a, can't think of the word, timeout in the back pocket, keep it, go for the sort of the push, as it is, the brotherly shove, as it's otherwise known by. Again, go with the winning formula, use the pack, just move them over the goal line. So I think it's very likely that we see one, if not multiple, Jalen Hurts scores in this game.
Oh, absolutely.
One of them will be the final one. We'll save the Gatorade shower colour, as it is for want of a better phrase, it's the MVP of our picks, which is ironic because the only other pick we need to make is the game's MVP. So, is it a nice straightforward one for you, I'm assuming?
Yeah, as with a lot of these picks up to this point, I don't see anybody other than Patrick Mahomes taking the MVP. There's a possibility of Travis Kelce, but who knows what sort of involvement. I've been saying all season that I think they've been doing a sneaky Patriots trick of keeping a certain player on the DL most of the season so that they can just, like, Mahomes to Kelce, every score through the entire Super Bowl just to get it done, get it put away, get it put to bed. And for that reason, that could put Kelce in the pitch for the MVP, but just Mahomes all day, every day, and that's my MVP pick.
Yeah, not a massive surprise. Obviously, I've gone with the Eagles to win, whereas everyone else has gone with the Chiefs. So it stands to reason that my MVP would probably come from the Eagles team, which it does. And just because I think for the Eagles to win, this guy has to have a monster game, I have gone with Saquon Barkley. I think whilst he may be outscored in touchdowns by Hurts, I think that's literally only because if they get within the goal line and they have to go for it from the goal line, they're more confident that they can get there with the quarterback sneak, shove, whatever you want to class it as, than they do with handing the ball off and having Saquon try and get there on his own.
Yeah.
So I think it's more likely that Hurts might score more touchdowns.
See, that's to me the way the Eagles win this game. For 90 yards and the ball to Saquon. For your scores, let Jalen Hurts keep it.
And I think as well, from like the bits that I've seen during the course of the season, I don't think that piss Barkley off because he doesn't seem like that sort of guy. He seems that he is all about the team.
Yeah.
He's not in it for personal glories at all.
He just wants to win.
He's had multiple chances this season where they've said, you're within so many yards of your personal rushing record. Do you want to go for it? And he said, no, let the other guys get their reps in and stuff like that. But then obviously he had the chance to set the single season rushing record. And the team decided it was best to rest him. And he was like, whatever's best for the team, man. So I don't think he's in it for personal glories, which is ironic because the biggest personal glory of all would be MVP in the Super Bowl. So I think that could be his reward for what is an incredible season. Which brings us to the creme de la creme pick. It is, of course, the winning colour of the Gatorade shower for the winning head coach. So I'll just get up the old Super Bowl 59 novelty specials from Sky Bet. Of course, other betting companies are available. So, like we said before, Tony has picked purple with odds of 6-4. Favourite. Stu has gone with red, but I've given him red/pink. Outside odds 15-2. I have gone with an 11-2 shot of orange.
It's one of the more sensible picks. Let's face it, orange is up there. I like the way that Stu thinks. So I am going for a 2-1 pick of yellow/green, because ultimately that's 2 picks. And could some people think that's cheating? Yes. Is it? Not going to Sky Bet. Other betting apps are available.
So there must be something in the way that it shows up under the lights, in which red and pink is deemed to be the same colour.
Yeah.
Yellow green is determined to be like a shading sort of scenario or something like that. So that's why they can't.
And ultimately, when you're dealing with people with money, you don't want mass arguments breaking out around, well, it looked yellow on my screen.
Yes. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The picks, as such, the picks are literally in for myself, Mr. Cook, and our 2 guests for the Super Bowl. Now, technically, the side bet is still open and is still on the line. Now, it's currently 56-55 in my favour. We have both picked either way in the big game. So, if you're happy to do this, as the last side bet of the season, you can have the Chiefs, I'll have the Eagles. If the Chiefs win, we'll need to do like some sort of tiebreaker based on the picks that we've made for the game as a whole.
Yeah.
And the winner can go that way. Obviously, if the Eagles win, I just win outright by 2 points.
Yeah. I'm more than happy. That was going to be my suggestion anyway. Because we've picked either way, I think that puts a beautiful bow on what is yet again a very close season. Obviously, last season, I think you had it sewn up a couple of weeks before, certainly a couple of weeks before the end of the season. There was no way I could catch you or win at that point. So that was kind of the end of that. However, the season before, we were in the exact same position we are in now. It was decided by the Super Bowl. So yes, I'm happy to go with that. I feel like it is the perfect way to end our season side bet. Yet again, proving that the side bet can actually be the I don't want to say the more fun of the picks each week, because it does leave our lovely guests out now and then. But yeah, it's still a little bit of fun. Speaking of a little bit of fun, I got the stats mistress to put her visor on while she was getting some stats and see what she could do me on the bookies side of things, and she did not disappoint. So these are weird and silly props bets. Honestly, I think I'm putting money on all of these just for funsies. The first one is, will a player or coach cry during the national anthem? I'm absolutely getting money on that. Absolutely getting money on that. And if there's a possibility of picking who I know who I'm picking. Number 2 of our fun little bets is: will Travis Kelce propose to Taylor Swift? I think you can get a 3-way bet which involves this. The Chiefs to win, Travis Kelce to propose, and announce his retirement. Is one of them, and I think the other one is the Chiefs win, Travis Kelce gets named MVP, and proposes. This one is almost a no-brainer because I think this has already been kind of hinted at. Number 3, who will Kendrick Lamar's halftime show guests be? I believe it's already been said that it's expected that Taylor Swift will make some sort of halftime appearance. Number 4, will there be a power outage? Obviously, as we know, in the past there has been a SuperBowl power outage. This one's a fun one. That's not your job. A, any quarterback to record a reception. B, any non-quarterback to throw a touchdown. C, any offensive lineman to score a touchdown. And finally, what will Jason Kelce be wearing? Neutral, supporting the Eagles, or supporting the Chiefs? I noticed on that list, shirtless is not.
I was going to say, why is his own personal chest rub should be the outstanding favourite?
I think he should rip his shirt off and have a portrait of Bert Kreischer painted on his chest. That would be amazing. Keep that dream alive. So we hinted at it last week. We did a little bit of a discussion last week. We talked about the real MVP of the Super Bowl. What's the menu for the Super Bowl? I'm coming to you on this one. We may have had a short discussion off air, and I feel that it's your job to disappoint the public with your Super Bowl menu. I'm not saying it's going to be a disappointment from that. I'm saying it's going to be, well,
yeah.
What's the menu for your Super Bowl?
So the group that I get together with, the last couple of years, we've gone out to various different bars in the town centre. A couple of years back, strange enough, before the Eagles Chiefs first go around, we went to a pub called the Charles XII over near the university. So it's very, very close to the university playing fields. And the reason we went in there was, I believe, because when we'd done a little bit of a recce, they said that the university team was going to be going in there to watch the game. I can't remember if that actually turned out to be the case in the end, because we were kind of tucked away in the corner. But not only did we watch the game in there, I believe we actually ate in there as well, because it was like a standard pub sort of food. So I think the majority went with the sort of the American theme and got a burger of some kind. And then I think I tried to keep it on brand by going with the closest thing I could get to American drinks for the night, and just stuck with Coors Light. And then last year where did we go for food? Oh, we met at a Weatherspoons, and again, I believe the order of the day was burgers. So we had our burgers, and then we went to a pub called the Stonebow, which was formerly known as the Terrace for anyone who knows York. They were staying up until late, and oddly enough, they were booked in by the university team landing on their doorstep at about 11:30 to have drinks and a pre-organised meal. So we were told we will be doing food, but if you want to get something, you might want to put your order in about half an hour before this point, because at that point the kitchen is going to be absolutely slammed. So yes, so the group that I go out with, the long and short of it is, the group that I go out with, we go to the pub rather than go to someone's house to watch it. And this year, we will be going to a place called the Crooked Tap, which isn't in the town centre. It's in a small part of the town called Acom, which just so happens to be walking distance from my house. So very much easier for myself. And next door to the Crooked Tap is a very fine curry house that we will be frequenting beforehand. So we will be having a pre-SuperBowl curry. The question is, how spicy does everyone dare tread?
There is no way you would get me a spicy curry before sitting down to 4 hours of American football, running the risk of going, I just need to go and have a very public, very explosive time in the toilet.
What makes it even better is that one of the guys who's going is a massive fan of spicy food. He's also an Eagles fan, so he might have to choose whether his love of spice trumps his love of the Eagles. Because obviously, if he's firing down an extra spicy vindaloo, for example, and then has to spend the next 2 to 3 hours coaxing his arse down, let's just say that's probably not going to be conducive to the most entertaining of the evening.
I hope he rocks up with like a combination of medical supplies, Pepto-Bismol, some sort of Alka-Seltzer, some whatever the tablets are that stop you shitting yourself when you've got diarrhea, and just everything in between.
Just Imodium to the balls.
Yeah, that was it.
So that's our plan, and then obviously we'll be in the Crooked Tap with its various array of craft wanky beers. I'm sure it'll be a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Yeah, what do you do in that situation? Because obviously, I know we've had this in the past, like the ups and downs. I'm going to be well and truly. I mentioned it last week. I'll be well and truly stocking the fridge for Sunday with all the beers you bought me for Christmas. So get the finest selection on the go. But in a scenario where you're supposed to try and stick to the American stuff, yet you've got craft right there in front of you, are you going to be sticking to your guns? Are you going to be alternating, or are you just going the wankier the better?
Well, considering that the pub is opening as a sort of I was going to say surprise, definitely not as a surprise, but as like a one-off special event type thing, I don't know whether we'll have used that as an excuse to try and get in some themed beers, as it were. So we might have gone and tried to get some American craft beers. That may be the way he's gone. I don't know for definite, but he may just be going with what he's normally got in as his supply. But yeah, I'd go so far as to say if there are any American craft beers on tap, that will be what I would be going for. If not, if they've got anything that's American style, like a West Coast IPA, as it were, I'd probably try and go for that.
Little broken skull on tap there.
Oh, can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Oh. So that's me. Have any changes happened to your menu since last week?
At this point in time, I can't honestly tell you what I said my menu was last week. It was still very much up in the air. Beer wise, like I say, I've covered that off. There will absolutely be a diet fizzy drink that has many grams of caffeine in it, as well as a coffee from one of my more frequented coffee establishments, and there will be many homemade coffees on the go. Even an additional to my usual one evening energy drink. There might even be a second one later in the evening, but that's not what we're here for. So a decision was finally made. Now, one of those things, I will be simultaneously doing food, doing SuperBowl, and nursing the stats mistress potentially. So there's a lot going on there, a lot to get done. I'll be looking after the gremlins that live in my house, as well as animals and all sorts. So the decision was finally made that the two choices were homemade or takeaway. Now, our takeaway order has been the same takeaway order since the dawn of time. It is sharing hash browns, sharing cheesy chips, a very much cheese to the max pizza, ideally stuffed crust, and similar for a garlic bread, stuffed crust with some cheese and in a garlic bread kind of thing. Recently, I have attempted to elevate my cooking game. I've been toying with some Asian fusion. I've been known to dabble with a dough or two for a variety of different effects. I've been trying to perfect the homemade pizza / homemade garlic bread. And merging those two things together has resulted in I am going to attempt to recreate our takeaway order at home. So today I went out and purchased a particular type of potato for hash browns and homemade chips. I also purchased some yeast. So basically, I'm going to try and create the takeaway that we would have. I spent last night, possibly, maybe the night before. I think I may have watched bordering on 20 different YouTube videos on how to make hash browns. Between like those shorts and the like a shorter clip to like 9-10 minute long videos on the ins and outs of how to make a hash brown. And honestly, I didn't realize that it was that complicated. I'm like, it's like smashed potato in a pan. What's so difficult? It absolutely is not. And apparently, there's some real debate. I was let down by the fact that I could not pick up ghee today. So I had to buy sunflower oil.
Ghee?
Yes.
Well, it's funny. Like, it's strange, obviously, because ghee would bring us back to the food I'm having.
Yeah, that's what the stats mistress said to me. She was like, "Isn't that what's used in like Indian, like curry sort of style food?" I was like, "Yes, but it's also used in a form of cooking, and apparently is perfect for cooking a hash brown in."
So for those who might not know, as far as I'm aware, ghee is just basically clarified butter
It is. That's exactly what it is.
So I'm assuming they use it as the frying agent for said hash browns.
You can make your own. You can make your own clarified butter, i.e. ghee. It takes a really long time to do. So I just bought a big thing of sunflower oil and went, they'll have to do. The thing I'm most terrified about is the chips, the fries, the cheesy chips, because like the hash brown, don't ever Google or YouTube chips, how to make chips at home. Because fucking not. Have you seen the three cook?
Triple cook chip.
Was it
So
Heston that made them popular?
Yeah, I was going to say Heston was the first guy, I believe. I still don't really know what the three. I know one of them is frying, but I don't know if it's a case of you're supposed to parboil. I don't know if that counts as one, or if that's that's like a step. And then I don't know if you oven bake.
I think there are two frying steps.
Yeah.
I know that there's a step that's very similar to as if you were making roast potatoes. There's like a roughing type thing, you parboil and all that. There's a freezing step where you take your what is almost like paper chips that just fall apart if you look at them wrong, and you freeze them to firm them up, but you need them rough. And that I think from the limited amount of research, I think there's two frying steps. I think you fry them and then maybe freeze them again. Here's my issue, and you can't tell her I said this, and I know she won't listen to this, so I think I'm good. But if we go down the route of a homemade equivalent takeaway and it isn't at least somewhere close, like an 8 out of 10 close, this could be my last podcast. Let's put it like that. This could be it for me. You do not mess with that woman's food. Oh man, I am scared.
Especially if she's not feeling well, not the time to mess around.
Part of me's like, do I get a takeaway ordered on backup? Like, like set up the order on some sort of app just so I can press the button. Like, I'm gonna hold my hands up on this one. My pizzas have been hit and miss. I have tried so many times to do some sort of stuff first, and it just goes wrong. But I'm gonna have to try because that's what would have been ordered. So I'm gonna have to try. I'm scared, and I'm not even joking. I am scared. If I take subpar food to that woman, that could be it for me.
So basically, what you're saying is tune in next week
to see if I am here.
Correct.
There'll just be a black screen. 1980 to 2025. He shall possibly be missed.
We shall remember him.
I doubt it. So there we go. Take us home. That is my supposed memories. I think even things like to limit the chances of having too much food, I'm doing a half pizza, half garlic bread combo with a few chippies, some hash browns. Got a secret hidden weapon under my belt, which is I'm gonna throw some halloumi fries at this situation and see if that appeases. So yeah, that is the menu. There'll be pictures, I'm sure, or there won't be any pictures because they won't be worth taking. So tune in for that.
Yes, indeed. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is your preview Super Bowl show done and dusted. We've got our predictions in. We've got our food shenanigans in. We've got our drinks in. All that's left to do is to get to Sunday and try and enjoy the game, I suppose. Obviously, that will be dictated by the play that goes on the field. So that brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the first thing to do is obviously to thank Mr. Cook for being with me each and every week during the season to go through the details of the National Football League. A big thank you to all of you for tuning in and doing it with us all throughout this season. Obviously, if this is your first time listening to us, then you've missed 20 odd weeks of primo dynamite stuff. I'd say go back and watch the back catalogue, but kind of seems a bit pointless at this point, as the season's already done and dusted. But if you're at a loose end and you haven't heard any of the results this season, go back. You might be interested in the stats that we bring you each and every week. That might be worth going back through. Yes, join us again next week, where we will have our season wrap-up show, where we'll go through the details of the Super Bowl, the details of that food, whether or not Mr. Cook was able to replicate the order as he saw fit, whether or not my curry was too hot for me to handle, and whether or not I shat myself, basically. And most importantly, whether or not the pub had some delicious American beer on draft. Like I said, if you are new around here, obviously, thank you very much for stumbling across the show. If you liked what you heard, throw us a little like, throw us a follow, subscribe to the channel would always be appreciated. Tell your friends, tell them this is where you need to come to get all of your American football updates. It's not just American football we do around here. We throw out a weekly football podcast that covers the ins and outs and ups and downs of Middlesbrough, Hull City and Nottingham Forest. There's also the weekly Formula One podcast, the Straight to the Apex podcast, which covers all the ins and outs of the new Formula One season, which I'm to understand is right on the horizon. It's coming over that hill very, very soon.
It is currently sitting in my inbox.
Ooh, there you go. There you go, ready and raring to go. Need we say more? If wrestling is something that falls into your bag, and as it's now available on Netflix, as we keep saying, it very much will be. I'm sure there's some people out there who've been scrolling through Netflix and just thought, oh, what's this WWE like? That sounds a little bit like WWF, which I used to watch back in the day. I wonder if that's worth a watch. It absolutely is. And what a better thing to accompany watching on Netflix than by listening to ourselves discussing each month's upcoming premium live event and making our predictions as to how we feel they will go. The latest one we did was to cover the Royal Rumble, a very, very interesting time of the year. Have a listen, see what you think. If you disagree with our predictions, tell us that we're stupid. Tell us where we've gone wrong. Send in your predictions to go along with it. And then Mr. Cook, the leader, does a weekly podcast, the Darkest Timeline podcast, where he tells you what's on his mind. He just has to get it out there. He needs to spew forth. Excellent. Well worth the listen. So, plenty of podcasts for you to be going on with. Like we said, like, share, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell them where the action is. That's it for us for this week. Join us again next week, where we'll break everything down, go through it one more time. Until then, take care of yourselves, enjoy the Super Bowl this Sunday, enjoy the game, enjoy everything that goes around with it. Join us again next week. Until then, tatty bye for now.
So there you go. What do you think to that? That's the season done. All that's left is the final dance. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you want to get involved, send us your predictions. Or tell us what's on your menu. What are you drinking? What are you eating? What are you enjoying with your Super Bowl? You can do that by going to our website, thecookiecast.com, clicking the email button and letting us know. Or check out one of the social media links. You can contact us all through social media. Obviously, before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And the big one is always share the podcast around. It helps us out. It's a big help to podcasting, so it really does help. So please consider sharing it around. That's it for this one, and it's nearly that's it for the season. There'll be another one, but that will be the end, I'm afraid. So until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
You've just listened to another episode of Cookie Cast. Thanks for listening.